Hey, what's going on, people of the internet? Welcome to another garden update video. What's new with the garden, which I feel like helps it so much, is the fact that I got a fan. I got this really nice desk fan on Amazon, obviously. I feel like I get most of my things from Amazon nowadays. It is the most high-powered little fan that I've ever had. Obviously, it's an oscillating fan, so it's able to get from all the way to my pepper plants to my arrow gardens over here. I know it's really bright in here. I actually turned off all of my floor lights and it's still pretty bright. I'm gonna probably end up lowering my shade just for this video, just so you guys can see everything. Okay, that's a lot better. I know it's kind of dark in here, but at least you guys can see a little bit more of what's going on. So I've got, in the background, I added my lava lamp. I absolutely love color. And then I also added another plant lamp. It's not as high powered as the floor lamps, but I figured that the cherry tomatoes absolutely needed some more light because they are climbing up that trellis unit. Those are two lighting changes that I've made in the garden thus far. Now, as for organization, I'm constantly changing my garden around, or at least I was. So I think I've come up with the configuration that I feel pretty confident about. Now, obviously, I'm probably going to end up moving it in the future, but, as things grow. But as of now, in this corner here, hopefully the camera, let me move my head so the camera can focus on that. So in the upper left, what you see there is actually my pepper plant area / semi hydroponics. So mostly what you see over there is self-watering containers, only strictly self-watering containers with the exception of one. But everything's in leca. So everything over there is in, like I said, semi-hydroponics. So, but for the most part, it simply is just Big Jim peppers, Keystone peppers, and then I'm also experimentally growing basil on leca. And then also I have it in like a food safe container, just see what that's like. And then right here, I've got basically all my mason jars for what's left of all of my kratky things. So I only have one kratky pepper, which that's an experimental pepper. What I did was I ended up taking that pepper because I didn't want it to grow vertically, like so high. I feel like a lot of these pepper plants, obviously, they tend to grow vertically, but I looked online and apparently if you top it, topping meaning chopping the top off, it will promote the plant to want to grow horizontally. But oddly enough, this plant did not do so, which let me show you what I'm talking about. So typically with topping, what you're going to do, the plant was at this size, right? So what I did was I cut it. Oh, you guys can't even see. Oh, yeah, there you go. I cut it right here. It was supposed to promote the plant to grow more horizontally. And instead, if you can see here, that's the topped area. Oh, there's just so many new growth. So this is the topped area right here, right? So what it decided to do was make another main stem here, and it just went up straight up vertically. As you can see, this is the new main stem. And I finally have some blossoms on here, some buds, because for the longest time this had absolutely nothing, obviously because I topped it. But I just found that to be so interesting. Maybe you can see it a little closer. Check that out. See that? The new main stem. Plants are amazing. I've always loved plants ever since I was a child. My grandfather had such a beautiful garden, and just seeing all the fruits and the herbs and the vegetables that we grew definitely made me want to do it as an adult, or as a teen, then an adult. I have an affinity for plants. They're just so amazing. Anyway. So I don't have very many kratky jars at the moment because I am using my Rain Point as a nursery. So as you can see, I do have a lot of basil now. And that's because I took that soil-based basil, and what I did was I just cleaned off the roots really well, added them to a pod, and look at how good it's doing. So you absolutely can take, I feel like basil was very easy to transfer from soil to these pods. This took so well. So this is just grown in a non-circulating kratky jar. Now I added another one of these basil plants to a pod, but then put it in the hydroponic system, and that thing just took off. Hang on. So check this out. Okay, so this thing, obviously it's in the hydroponic system, so it's got a water pump in there that's circulating airflow. So, but I feel like regardless of the fact that this was in a circulating environment and this one was in a non-circulating environment, I feel like they both pretty much yielded great results. So if you're worried about whether you don't have the funds to get like a hydroponic system, you can always grow anything in a kratky system or given the kratky method. All you need is a jar and water and it needs nutrients. It's one thing that you will absolutely have to buy, but you can pretty much grow herbs in just about anything, which is absolutely amazing about the kratky method. But yeah, what I found was that herbs do very well in the kratky system. I did try to transfer hydroponically grown lettuce to a kratky jar, so it wasn't really used to an environment where it wasn't non-circulating, and the lettuce ended up bolting. So if you notice, I do not have any more lettuce, so I ended up harvesting what I could. It was amazing. It tastes delicious, but it all bolted. So after that, that was it with that lettuce. I just obviously chucked the pods. Whoa. Whoa. So I have been eating this lettuce for what seems like all eternity. So this lettuce is amazing, and lettuce and cilantro are two things that I haven't been buying from the grocery store because I've been growing so much of it. It's so bountiful in my garden. So I've just been eating from the outside edges of this lettuce, and it finally started to bolt. So I think that once I'm done with all these leaves, that's the end of this plant. But it was so tasty, and I just look at that stalk. Look at that. But honestly, it's such a rewarding feeling growing your own food and then also just relying on yourself and not having to rely on the grocery store. Like I said, this was one less thing I had to buy, and it was so tasty. So tasty. I think it was extra tasty because I grew it myself. But yeah. So I knew this thing was going to bolt eventually. So I already started another head of lettuce, and it's doing great. Let me show you how that's doing. So this is my baby. I love looking at root pools. If you go on my TikTok, by the way, I do a lot of root pools. Oh, well, never mind, because I do post everything from my TikTok over here. So, but look at how gorgeous this is looking. So amazing. And you know what? Lettuce grows so quickly. I did want to start growing lettuce actually in a kratky jar and start it there first and not go from the hydroponic system to a kratky jar. So I think I'm going to end up trying that eventually. I did buy a lot more seeds. I got more seeds from MI Gardener. So very excited about that. Let me put this little guy back. Get back in there. Okay. One thing I was so disappointed by was this arugula. So I had thinned it out a little too late because as you see, it wasn't fully in there. There was about 6 of them in one pod. So next time I probably will thin it out a lot sooner because you ideally only want one plant per pod. It does the best when there's only one. I've tried growing multiples in one pod, and the only thing that works perfectly fine with that was cilantro. So which I'll show you in a second. But so my arugula, it was too hot in my house, and so it decided to bolt. And that's what you see right here, this flower. So once it starts flowering, it's just no good. You're not getting any use out of this. So unfortunately, I didn't get to enjoy any arugula. So I'm going to try to plant that yet again. But that was a bummer in the garden. This did not actually go to fruit. So no arugula. But like I said, the cilantro is out of control. I feel like I have more than enough cilantro that I need, and I'm growing a lot more. So It is absolutely insane. Let me see if I can take the bunches out. I'm probably just going to end up removing the entire housing unit. Let me see. So this is just one bunch of cilantro, and this is the bunch that has the least amount. And I've got two cilantro plants in here. And although it looks like they're doing all right, I feel like this probably would have thrived more with just one cilantro in either pod. But again, look at how much cilantro I have. I've been harvesting the outside, and it's still quite a lot of cilantro, and this is just one bunch, and this is my thinner bunch of the two. I'll try to tackle that jungle back there and show you guys the roots. I recently trimmed it. You can see fresh white roots. The roots are a little yellow because of the nutrients I've been providing it. Since I cut them, these actually grew a lot of roots. See, I chopped it here, and I wish you could smell this because it smells amazing. And the leaves are looking a little curled over now. They were nice and full and big. But this cilantro, like I said, I've been eating this for quite some time now and eating the outside edges. So that's a heaping amount of cilantro. And like one less thing I have to buy at the grocery store. And since this is harvested, I've been eating this almost every day. I love cilantro. This is my prized bell pepper plant for the longest time. I had no idea, and I still can't sort which plants are which, as in the pepper plants, because they all look identical. So I grew two different peppers. This is the Keystone pepper, and I hope it gets larger than this. But I also grew some big gem peppers. So there's some back behind me which have flowers but have yet to actually fruit. This is my only fruiting vegetable, and I've got 4 on here. Now, I did do my research. It said don't let the plant try to produce any more than 6 at a time. So as more come in, I'm going to just cut them off. But look at how huge that is right now. I am so proud of this gorgeous bell pepper, and I cannot wait to watch it grow and then eventually eat it. But I've got 4 on here, and it's just been so fun watching it week by week. But this is what the roots look like. I know the roots look pretty crazy, but like there's some odd black tips on some of them. I'm not really worried about this too much. Like the black tips are like mostly up here, and I was afraid that it was like root rot, but all of the other roots are fine, and the ones that are new are nice and thick and healthy. So I'm not worried about this at all. I've been feeding it a combination of Flora Grow, Flora Micro, and Flora Bloom, and it's doing so good. So I have this in my AeroGarden Harvest Elite with my monster of a Tiny Tim. I'm going to attempt to get that out of the Harvest Elite, but it has just grown so much that I haven't taken it out in about a week or so. So I don't know what it's like outside of there. So let's see. Oh no. I nicked the branch. That's okay. Wow. Holy. So this is my Tiny Tim. This Tiny Tim has grown so fast. It's bushed so much. And if you look at it, there are so many blossoms, but they haven't actually fully opened up or produced any tomatoes just yet. So I'm hoping that it does start producing soon. I hate that I've disturbed it, but I did want to show you guys. I did nick a branch over here, so I'm sure it'll be all right because there are so many flowers and our buds on here. And check out the roots. The roots are super healthy, as you can see. I'm going to put this baby back. But this is by far my largest Tiny Tim. Okay, I'm going to put it back now. What's also new in the garden and in mason jars are these cherry tomato plants. Now, I originally had them in those foil containers, and I was trying like a kratky system where I lined a food container in foil, but they were suffering. So I decided to take them out of that, put them in a pod, and then add them to water. And they grew so much as I expected. I just could not throw away these cherry tomato plants, and I have 3 of them now, and I'm not too sure what to do with them. So I think I'm going to end up buying another one of those trellis systems and then adding 2 of them to that. And then I don't know what to do about the third. I could potentially add all 3 of them to the trellis unit because it fits 3 different spaces, but it's probably best only to add 2 plants in there. I have 2 plants in there now. I have the cherry tomato plant, which is thriving, and then I have a pepper plant in there, which is not doing so well, but usually pepper plants and tomato plants do well in the same environment. But I think because they're competing for nutrients with one another, that I feel like the cherry tomato plant is probably taking more nutrients than the pepper plant. So that's probably what's happening. I've been trying to keep an eye on my nutrient level and things like that. But so far, the pepper plant has been dropping flowers instead of actually producing. I'm not too sure why the cherry tomato plant is flowering, but the pepper plant is not. So I don't know. Hopefully I'll figure that out. As of now, that's everything that's growing in the garden that I can show you. Oh, I can actually show you the pepper, or not the pepper, the basil plant growing on leca. So they actually need watering right now, but you can in fact grow herbs on leca. I feel like it's not, probably because I'm not watering it as much as I should be, but you absolutely can grow I feel like basil and just herbs in general are pretty easy to grow. Basil's really easy. I'm glad that I have tons of it here. Once they start growing out of control, I'm gonna dry it. But yeah, that's everything. Oh, I didn't tell you what's in the nursery actually. So I actually just refer to the Rain Point as the nursery as of now. But I've got some dill here from Arrow Garden. It's looking a little sad. It looks really sad right now. But I also have Thai basil. Now, at first, this is my second pack that I'm using of these pods because at first I thought that 3 of them were molded, but apparently, okay, because I saw like a slime, and then it just looked odd, but apparently that's part of the germination process for some of these. So I'm afraid that I did throw away 3 pods that potentially could have grown. But just keep in mind, if you are growing some Arrow Garden pods, sometimes while growing, it will look a bit odd. You will see some slime. I did do my research on Reddit and they were saying that it's just a Miracle-Gro formula. I'm also growing curly parsley. And I have mint here, but this mint, I don't know what's going on with this mint. It's been taking forever to actually grow. It says on here that it sprouts in 6 to 10 days, but I feel like this took 14 days for it to sprout, and it's not even fully, there's not much going on there. But the ones that did not germinate yet were the thyme and Genovese basil. I also have some chives in here too. Ooh, let me try to get these chives. My first time growing chives. Actually, it's my first time growing a lot of these herbs and vegetables, but this is my chives thus far. I feel like this is taking ages to actually grow. So when this is full grown, I'll be so excited because I love chives and I'm just anxiously awaiting this to be edible. So, oh, and then lastly, I do have two more tiny tomato plants that are in one of the Harvest Elites. They're doing fine. They're doing great. Actually, those surprisingly have yellow blossoms on them, and the monster doesn't yet. The monster Tiny Tim does not yet, so that's crazy. Hopefully one of them starts producing tomatoes soon, because that's the one thing that I'm constantly going back to the grocery store for is tomatoes. I have a cherry tomato plant behind me. I have multiple Tiny Tim tomato plants, so I'm hoping that I just have a crop of tomatoes. Fingers crossed. That's my goal. Those are the main things I go to the grocery store for. Lettuce, tomatoes. Oh, spinach is another thing I need to start growing. Cilantro, and then also herbs. So that's everything with the garden. So far, I'm pretty proud of everything. I'm just very excited to see things, I want to see things flower and fruit, and the bell peppers so far are amazing. I did get more seeds. So like I said, I got seeds from MI Gardener, which I'll probably end up doing a video on because I'm very excited about that. I got some of the same things because I just wanted to try different seeds from different brands, but I did get some different varieties. Anyway, you'll see. But sorry that this video was so long, you guys. That's everything that's new in the garden. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you until next time. Not yet. Hang on. Whoa. I did not mention that I've been growing microgreens. I grew another batch of microgreens, and I like to keep the house at 80 degrees. And unfortunately, I started bottom watering the microgreens before I needed to. And thus I created mold because all of it with the extra added water and then the moisture dome that I created, it made mold. So the second time around, I wanted to, make a denser harvest, and it looks so beautiful and lush. But then in this one section, I found on the bottom that there's mold. So obviously I have to throw this entire thing away and start fresh, but at least I learned a lesson. Like I know not to bottom water up until a certain point, like my first harvest. I did try to do things differently this time around, which I should have just stuck to what I did the first time. So I'm going to restart growing these again because these were tasty. I ate them all. So the salad mix was a bit too spicy for me, but the broccoli was perfect. So I'm going to try to grow more broccoli. This looks so beautiful, but I cannot eat it, unfortunately, due to the mold. So yeah, I mean, that's everything though with the garden. That's actually everything. So I will be seeing you very, very soon, and I hope you have a great week.